good morning to you all. I was just looking around in the room and being present in a few sessions. I feel I'm the only person who is not an expert. You all are experts. You all have been doing the how-tos, and I have been the privileged one to use your how-tos for policy making, for policy changes. So my presentation is going to be a very different one. I was just fascinated by Shiv's presentation. He very beautifully told you as to what to do. But I'm going to tell you what I did in terms of your knowledge, your expertise. So the evaluation experts, community of evaluators, ladies and gentlemen, and I see many friends of mine with whom I have walked this journey. I really want to thank you for involving a non-evaluator in this group. So I'm going to bring in the doer's perspective today. So the doer in terms of what you did, how I made, how I used it in different national and regional programs and policies. But let me tell you, I am a die-hard practitioner of the evaluation that you all have done for us. Evaluation has been my development mantra for my 48 years of work. I've worked with the government for 26 years and worked at a regional level with UNIFEM for 18 years. And I'm still working. Though they say I'm retired, I'm only retired from UNIFEM. So I have really used a lot of, invested I would rather say, time and resources wherever I was, in the government, in the UN, in the international organization that I have led, in the NGOs, setting up monitoring and evaluation units, and getting the help of experts who have, literally done so much in this field itself. When I started any program, whatever, there's always a dearth, there's always a crisis in terms of time, there's lack of time. It's a 2-year project. You have to finish it within this, national development plan. There are certain deadlines. But I always started with baseline surveys because I was very much interested in both the qualitative and quantitative approaches. And I was so keen on evaluation because I had to revise services that I was giving and also to enhance advocacy. That was the part of my work. For me, evaluation was not just monitoring the disbursement of funds or counting numbers of trained human resource, but I wanted instant and regular feedback because I wanted to learn as what had happened, were the results as appropriate as we were looking for, are we in the right direction, do the goals have to be changed, do they have to be frequently changed or we stick to that. I really needed to know where the shoe pinches of the development workers, being a development practitioner myself. Therefore, evaluation was always an integral part of my development work. Only impact assessment didn't satisfy me because I wanted to know how have we made the life of people a little different? Have we really touched them? That was my keen interest all the time. In 1981 I started a new development model called Production Credit for Rural Women, which I started in 5 districts of Nepal and expanded to 11 districts. But after that, the constant evaluation was going on, though we know that evaluation takes a long time to see impact, but still, the findings of that evaluation didn't satisfy me. So I said, let's wait for 2 years. And I had literally convinced the government to wait for 2 years. And waiting for a development model to test for 2 years is a long time. And while waiting for that 2 years, I used to feel, I used to get all kinds of remarks. And I remember one of the very sour remarks I used to get from IFAD. They wanted to give $14 million for this project to be expanded. And I remember in many forums, whenever they would see me, the president of IFAD would say, oh, the rich lady from a poor country, because I was saying no to their $14 million, because I was saying let's wait and see. Now, when I was in the government, I expanded this program to 49 districts of Nepal after waiting for 2 years, and now it's in all 75 districts of Nepal at the moment, and I feel proud while saying that. Now you can ask a question as to how has this really helped me? It has really helped me to prioritize tasks, delegate authority, divide and do multitasking, and to prepare checklists. And while waiting for those 2 years, we were able to advocate and really challenge the Rashtra Bank of Nepal, that's the central bank, and got them to change some of the gender discriminatory clauses so that they really looked at it from a gender lens. So I would say that we negotiated for policy change with the evaluation results. Then later on, I used the same methodology for larger events like preparing for the Earth Summit and also for the World Conference on Women in Beijing. Then I scaled these strategies that I had learned. One of the things that we hear very often is, the evaluation of one country doesn't kind of qualify for another country. But I used it very, very tactfully in the region itself. Because if you look at South Asia, most of our constants, most of the gaps that we face, and most of the problems are almost the same. So I scaled up this strategy to SAARC regional level to monitor the progress on the Women's Bill of Rights, which is the Beijing Platform for Action. We used to prepare. First, we used to prepare in the office itself. We used to prepare scorecards of all the 8 countries. And even when the Human Development Report comes, what happens, especially in South Asia. I'm sorry to quote, Bhutan is compared with Nepal. India is always compared with Pakistan. Pakistan always compares with India. So it gets very, very complicated. But we prepared that with a lot of courage, with a lot of guts, and we showed it to the government. And later on we hired, I believe Ratna Sudarshan was also supposed to be here. So ISSD, they prepared these scorecards for us. It used to be very, very sensitive because it was on the 12 critical areas of concern. And that really did the trick. And the governments really saw, where the gaps were. So later on, we started this biennial program. Every 2 years, the governments and the NGO leaders would gather in one space, and every 2 years they used to monitor where have they reached, what really needs to be done. They would come up with the forward-moving strategies. And Pankaj is here. He was part of UNIFEM. And in UNIFEM, we already did 6 of those meetings, and now UN Women has done the 7th. And it's an ongoing process that we are using. This was, these innovative findings of our evaluations also was used to give our inputs to the MDG and to the Beijing Platform for Action for sure, and also for the CEDAW monitoring, which is very, very crucial in every country, when we are talking about women's rights. And this participatory and creative evaluation techniques I learned was not only for projects. It was used for change of policies, large policies like gender responsive budget, engendering national development plans. And when this was started, we started this, as they say, charity begins at home. During the 8th National Development Plan of Nepal, we convinced the Planning Commission and tried engendering the plan itself. And we took this lesson to India. And we did the same technology with the 9th National Development Plan of India, and it was quoted as one of the best practices in the UN system itself. And the UN Secretary General recognized it in his TICAD 2 that he was sharing in Japan itself. This we took it to the SAARC Gender Information Base with the SAARC Secretariat, and later on, this whole evaluation methodology that we had learned was, we used it for gender auditing, the aid effectiveness of large donors like the EU in Nepal. I started with small national projects as a theme of this evaluation conclave is evaluation should ultimately make a difference in the lives of people. So one example I'm going to quote is from the tribal areas of Andhra Pradesh. We had a project called Gamkaraya. And while doing the baseline survey, I remember the tribal women, we were having a focus group discussion. and they were asking us, I was asking, what can UNIFEM do for you? Because they were collecting gums, getting 8 rupees per day, and that was it, that was the subsistence economy itself. And when I asked them, what can we do? They said, you can chase monkeys. There are too many monkeys when we go to cut the gum, so you can chase the monkeys. And after 3 years, the constant evaluation went on, because this was a project we were trying, as World Bank was very interested in this methodology, and they wanted to expand it to throughout Andhra Pradesh itself. So when we were, after 3 years, I was sitting with the same group and asking the same questions. And I was asking, okay, what is your turnover now, every year? They said, this year it wasn't good. It was only 50 lakh rupees. The same women who were earning 8 rupees per day, they were answering this. And I was asking questions like, okay, now are you beaten every day? As you used to tell us you were beaten. They said, no, we don't, because we don't allow our husbands to have a whole bottle of booze. We give them two pegs only. They can enjoy themselves, but they don't come home and beat us. Okay? And there was a huge problem of bonded labor. The husbands would disappear for 2-3 years. And I asked him, I said, is that Kala Topi Wala, as they call it, the man with the black cap, do they still come? They said, no, we chase them away. Now our husbands are home and helping us with our daily chores. So, and they used to sell this only to the Girjan Samaj. But they took such a big stand that the government literally deleted that policy that the tribal women should only sell their product to the Girjan Samaj, but now they could sell it everywhere. So they were going to the Bombay traders, and they were selling gum for 200 products throughout India itself. So it was really seeing the effect of touching people's life itself. Then these small lessons I took for larger movements like the anti-trafficking movement, the gender-based violence campaign and action programs, and the home-based workers movement itself. After asking experts, and Mr. Shiv Kumar is here, the other Shiv Kumarji, and he was telling me that he was involved, and I was very happy. I said, since I'm going to talk about this, talking about looking for evaluation tools on sensitive issues like HIV and AIDS, and especially with the Indian Railways, which is the second largest employer in Asia, as you know, after the Chinese army, was not easy. But he was one of our evaluators, so he can just vouch for what I'm saying. Was not easy, but we did do it, and it was really worthwhile. So in the field of anti-trafficking, violence against women, HIV and AIDS, and I was very, very happy to hear Catherine's keynote address, because I thought, I'm going to be very out of context when I'm going to share my presentation, but I wasn't, after the keynote address set in the inauguration session itself. I feel these issues like anti-trafficking, violence against women, HIV and AIDS, measuring impact is not enough. I'm sure you have new technologies. We need to measure the outcomes of change of attitudes, change of perception, change of behavior. Not only that, we also want to see the result of the change of what they have learned. That is very important. All this resulted in getting credit. I would say two things. I have got credit for what I have done with all the awards that Rifat was talking about. It wasn't something that I just did myself. It was my effort to work with women in Nepal as well as in the region itself, and for implementing sustained and self-reliant programs. My national and regional programs never suffered from dearth of funds. One thing I can say that, I was able to market my development modules in such a way that the money flow was there. And what I would say that till date, they know me as a successful fundraiser, and I would very, very strongly say, not only to this conclave, but I owe it to the investment that I have made and learned from candidate evaluations that was done of all the programs itself. These evaluation techniques have helped me in thinking out of the box, gave me courage to take risks, and make my knowledge-based advocacy stronger, effective, and encouraged me to negotiate women's rights with world leaders like President Bill Clinton, Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, President General Musharraf, President Dr. Abdul Kalam, President Hamid Karzai, President Mahindra Rajapakse, and Mr. Shaukat Aziz. I'm taking these names because this was more negotiating on certain issues of rights of women in South Asia itself. I'm very pleased and very happy to be involved in this conclave. And I see this as a very innovative evaluation conclave. You have one voice, you are united, and while working in development, you are always frantically looking for experts. And experts who are there, I'm not saying experts were not there, but they didn't have the time, and you need them instantly. So it's wonderful, and congratulations for forming this conclave, and please keep united. It's very, very important. We need you. Development practitioners like us really need you. And I think you need to market yourself a little more. More people need to know more about you. But I also have a challenge that I want to throw. The challenge I see for the evaluation conclave is the need to come up with more sharpened and crisp tools. But I would say it should be user-friendly too. It should be user-friendly that people can use it, and it should just not go over their head. You are doing evaluation for evaluation's sake, not that. But they should be involved, and they should know, and you should be user-friendly. And the demand today is to come up with more enhanced, more pertinent, and provocative indicators, I would say, to measure sensitive issues like gender-based violence. And we heard the cost of inaction, but I would also want to know what is the cost of violence? How much is it costing the person herself? How much is it costing, her family, the community, and the nation? I think we should have those costs. And on HIV and AIDS, trafficking, and we also need to learn the social impact on the growing migration patterns. And there are several emerging new gender issues that's coming up. So we need your help, we need your support, and all, I was walking down the room, all that you have come up with, the new technologies, the new methodologies, I think that should really be given in the hands of the practitioners. I thank you so much, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much, Ms.